Ring the City is a very fresh take on a turn-based strategy game. Its premise is that there are powerful rings left behind by ancient magicians known as Nitron? Yeah, that's what they're called. No, I have no idea why they are called that. All I know for sure is that they were defeated by the supreme beings known as the Shajin, whatever. And they were sealed deep underground within the Zephyr Mountains. Now people are journeying into the mountains and coveting the rings that the Nitron once owned. Unfortunately, a variety of ring-slinging creatures would prefer to see said people such as you into dinner. From there, it's a simple matter. You are given an initial set of rings that you can wear on your hand. Each ring has its own set of powers. Some rings store mana that you need to transfer to your skill rings so that they are able to cast their spells. Some are skill rings that allow you to cast powerful spells and abilities at the cost of mana. Some rings are eternal, meaning they have passive effects. Some rings are spirit containers that allow you to store the essence of the creatures you slay, allowing you to use their abilities for a limited time per battle. Each finger can fit 2 rings, except the thumb, which only fits 1. As you progress through the dungeon, you will collect more types of rings until all of your ring slots are filled. If you are no longer able to fit rings in your hand, you'll need to store some on your pouch. The pouch also has enough space for only 3 other rings. Any more and you'll be forced to destroy other rings to make room for new ones. You also have 3 other items in your inventory. Potions can heal your fingers if they are injured. Torches can reveal what enemy lies ahead at the end of each path. Prosthetics can be put in place of lost fingers, and they have 30 HP instead of the usual 20, making them harder to take down than the rest of your digits. It's a good idea to have your prosthetics wear the rings that you don't want to lose during a fight. The position of the rings on your fingers do matter. Some rings can enhance any other rings to the left or right of them. Others buff rings worn in the same finger as them. My favorite example of this is the auto ring. If placed in the correct position beside a skill ring, then that skill ring will auto-cast during the turn that it is fully charged. This is my favorite strategy to use in the game because it means that I am attacking multiple times in a turn. Speaking of strategy, each monster has their own strategies. Gnomes Jones will try to take away some of your available mana during a turn, so that you can't properly charge your rings. The Fruit Tree Essence will force you to attack its finger, which has the highest HP. That finger also happens to wear a Thorn Ring, so that you will take damage whenever you attack it. He will then keep on healing that finger to force you to hit it multiple times. The Winged Beetle has a defensive strategy that can nullify any damage taken during a turn, or have you attack a finger that has been protected with a reflective shield, so that you take twice the damage that you deal. Naturally, bosses also have their own unique strategies that will require careful planning to overcome. You typically start each dungeon with a selection of paths to take. Occasionally, you'll encounter objects that you can interact with, like a chest that gives you extra potions or torches. You might also encounter a passage that requires you to sacrifice a type of ring to unlock it. It can give you a chance to skip straight to the boss fight. There are also NPCs that you can meet that help you on your journey or indeed engage in combat with. The trader, for instance, will offer new rings provided you're willing to hand over yours. He wants to make sure, of course, that the value of the rings you give up meet or exceed the value of the rings you want from him. You can check on your dungeon progress at the top of the screen. Tiles that are marked with a cross represent the rooms that you have explored. The last room in a dungeon is always a boss fight, and only when you beat it can you progress to the next dungeon. after beating a boss, you get the chance to send 2 of the rings that you currently have back to camp to permanently become part of your collection. If you lose, then you lose everything but the rings that you have sent back to camp. Ring the City is a great choice if you're looking for a simple game that is cheap and will provide some fun in the short term. The gameplay isn't the deepest in terms of strategy, but it certainly is unique and worth trying. I can't recommend this if you are looking for a huge time sink, but this game is great for those short moments where you just need to pass some time. Thank God the game put up its own warning, because I can use a screenshot of it in today's video. If you happen to be adverse to distressing themes related to mental and emotional wellness, then this is probably the time to go and watch something else. For the rest of you, let's talk about Sea of Solitude. So firstly, it's an EA Originals game, and I'm happy to say that this isn't a heavily monetized live service unlike the rest of the nonsense in EA's library of recent quote-unquote games. CEA, it's not so hard, right? Anyway, Sea of Solitude is a single-player exploration game where you explore a town that has been completely submerged in water. You take the role of Kay, a character that is human in every way except that she's pitch black in color, has red eyes, and is somehow covered with feathers. The town you explore is populated by creatures who are also blackened and have red eyes. It hints that whatever is going on with them is also happening to Kay. These blackened creatures usually represent the threat that you have to avoid in order to progress to the next part of the game, like these whale-like creatures. In many instances, you have to keep an eye on where this monstrosity is, so that you will have time to jump into the water and onto the next platform. Otherwise... To help you navigate around the creatures and figure out where to go to press forward, you're able to shoot light flares that home in on the area where you need to go. Naturally, this means that you'll be using the flare regularly as you progress. People will see this in either one of 2 ways. They will either A, see this as a convenience because the flare always keeps the gameplay going, or B, see the flare as a mechanic that undermines the exploration aspect because it immediately gives away the next path to progression. I'm sort of on the fence for this one, since I do believe that I like being able to keep going and know that I am going somewhere meaningful. On the other hand, most of the challenge in the game involves simply timing when you proceed, or in the case of this section, using the light flare to keep the blackened enemies at bay. Perhaps it would be best to buy this game not quite expecting a challenge, but an enlightening story experience instead. If you like narratives that use a lot of symbolism, Sea of Solitude might be right up your alley. I'm going to give you my own interpretation of what the symbolism means in the game, so feel free to give your own in the comments section or let me know if I got stuff right or wrong. That being said, the main character Kay is blackened in contrast to the beautiful world around her because while there is indeed a good life out there to experience, she is unable to truly live it because she suffers from said solitude. It is thus made clear that she wants to change herself at the start of the game, and that's the premise of your journey. Like her, the creatures are blackened because they are consumed by the negativity. The horrible things that creatures say to Kay are very self-defeating and self-blaming thoughts that probably caused her to resort to the solitude in the first place. The light represents her hope and her desire to change herself for the better, and it's what guides her journey. The reason why the town is submerged in water is because it represents how difficult navigating life can be when you yourself are bogged down by loneliness. It is within this sea that the monsters, or in this case the negativity, have the chance to thoroughly consume her. The boat with a lamp attached to it represents how hope can allow you to conquer life's challenges. The corruption that causes the town to be submerged in the first place is in fact the negativity that comes from the blackened creatures that you encounter. When you dispel that corruption, it gets stored in Kay's backpack, thus representing the burden that one carries when dealing with loneliness from either oneself or from others. Okay, so I may be reaching for symbols somewhere here, but the point is that the game is deeper than it looks on the surface. It's definitely an interesting experience, undercut slightly by the not so stellar voice acting.
Ah! What are those things? There's something trapped in there. It shines like the girl. Could she still be alive? Is that me?
You'll either see the voice acting quality in one of two ways. A. You'll see it as appropriate because it makes the protagonist sound like an everyday average person. And there are many people who have accents and don't have their English phonetics down pat. B. You'll see it as a thing that gets in the way of your immersion of the story, because the way the voice actress for Kay delivers doesn't quite pack the punch needed to truly portray Kay's emotions. Should you buy this game? Well, if you know you can handle these topics and you have a genuine interest in exploring themes of loneliness and sadness, then perhaps this is worth your while. I do, however, say that EA should slap the warning showed at the start of the game on the storefront instead. I mean, seriously, EA, come on. It shouldn't be that hard, EA. It shouldn't be that hard. Jeez, people need a warning like this before they buy the game and not before they play it. Come on! It's not difficult. Jesus. Tell me what games you have been playing this week. I definitely would love to hear more from you. Like this video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. This is Speakerhead, your head speaker. Thank you for watching.